Okay, hey, welcome back to my channel. I have today my laptop, and a lot of people wanted me to do like 23andMe and like a review of it. I feel like ancestry and stuff is coming up a lot in the news, and I kind of wanted to touch on, like, for example, a lot of people that are Native American, a lot of Americans in general that have some Native American blood, and the whole Pocahontas thing going on in the news. I figured I would kind of show you. My parents never claimed that we were Native American or anything, but they are huge into genealogy and like tracing their family trees and all of that kind of thing, and even my grandparents were really into that, so I kind of know what I am, and I kind of wanted to show you. Like, I was always told that I was like completely European, mainly Scottish, so British and Irish as well, and yeah, I want to kind of show you just 23andMe in general. So I'm gonna go through this today, and hopefully it'll like let you know whether or not you want to do it. My family did ancestry.com. I did 23andMe because I like the health aspect of it, because I'm way more of a health conscious person and I want to know more about that instead of my like just my DNA ancestry. This is like the main site. Like, once you take the test, it'll show you these results, and then it shows you like ancestry 5 reports, carrier status 43 reports. It'll tell you like what you're at risk for health-wise in terms of like different diseases and things like that. And then they also break it down into like wellness and different traits that you might have based on your DNA. On here, okay, it'll tell you what your majority DNA is. So 51.5% British and Irish, which actually surprised me, because that's only half. And then it'll tell you, you know, your haplogroup and other stuff. But I'm first going to break out this. So DNA tells the story of who you are and how you're connected to populations around the world. Trace your heritage through centuries to uncover clues about where your ancestors lived and when. Now, if you can see, I am 100% European. Only Europe, which is kind of what I knew. It was what I was expecting. Another thing that really surprised me is under British and Irish, it only lists the United Kingdom. It doesn't list Ireland, which means that out of my British and Irish, because they're very similar DNA, I'm really just British. I'm not, and like, or like Scottish, British Scottish. I'm not actually Irish. Well, that they've seen in my DNA so far. Okay. And then, okay, so that's the main part. French and German, they're combined together because they're very similar DNA. So you could be, like, I know that I have, Alsace-Lorraine is in the middle of France, and it used to be part of Germany and now it's part of France. But it's on the border, so it kind of makes sense. My grandpa said that he has some ancestors from that area, so it makes sense. And also ancient Celtic. A lot of people migrated from that area to the British Isles. Okay. So that's about 80% of my DNA, and then I have 2.4% Scandinavian, which is not very much, yeah. And then, yeah, 0.3% Eastern European. So that could even be like non-existent, because anything in the, that it can vary a few percentages, but that's kind of what they've determined. And then there's just broadly Northwestern European. So that could be a part of the British or the French and German, I don't know. Just broadly European. So it's pretty basic. It's not like really in depth. It won't tell you like exactly what country, because a lot of the parts of Europe share similar DNA with one another. So it's not going to tell you that, but it will tell you exactly like if you're just European, if you have a mix, if you're part Native American, if you're part Asian, if you're part African, it'll tell you all of that. I don't have any of that, but yeah. And it was recently updated August 17th. And I took the test over summer. My population percentages didn't really update, but I know some other people had big changes in their DNA results. Okay, now, yeah, it'll go into the science on how they tested things, and yeah, they have different ancestral reference populations, yeah, tons of different stuff. And then it'll tell you your strength. This is what I was kind of getting into. 4 out of 5 British. So one little fraction of that is Irish. So I'm mainly just English, which makes sense given my name. They haven't actually identified any specific locations, so they don't know, but I'm gonna, like, based on my understanding of my background, it would be Switzerland. would be the majority of this, but again, this applies to all that are French, that are considered French and German. And then Scandinavian, again, there's no markers. They don't really know exactly what I am, which is a bit discerning, but the only ones that were really strong were this. And it's kind of cool though, because it'll break down what it considers, like Scandinavians, Denmark's included in that, whereas the Netherlands isn't. And yeah, Eastern European includes all of those. And they also check for like Ashkenazi Jewish, which is pretty cool, but I didn't have any of that. Yeah, Iberian, things like that. Sardinian. Yeah, and then they have all of these other different aspects, but again, 0% in all of these. So, and this includes, just to give you an idea, like there's so many different countries that they do test for. Yeah. Anyway, so that's just the ancestry part. Nothing really surprised me. If anything, I was kind of surprised I was only 50% British and Irish, and then the rest was all other parts of Europe, which was interesting. Because my mom took a test and she was pretty much entirely English and Irish, so probably from my dad's side. And this is what I wanted to get into, health. It's a bit scary because it does test you for things, and they did update it. It looks a little different now. But I think it's kind of important because it'll tell you like age-related macular degeneration, which is eyesight you can be at risk for, and it's things to sort of be aware of, especially if you're young, because you can kind of prevent it. And like celiac, a lot of doctors thought I had that based on like my weakness towards different foods and things like that, but I did get tested. So it's kind of something like, oh, if you're an increased risk for celiac, maybe you should get tested because you could have that disease, that kind of thing. And I know Alzheimer's runs in my family, so all of this is really pretty accurate, and I think it's important. And then another thing that I really liked is like the wellness aspect. It tells you like gives you several reports. It's sort of your DNA. It says like find out how your DNA may impact or affect your body's response to diet, sleep, exercise. And all of these are pretty much accurate, which was really shocking to me because I know a lot of people weren't, but like some of them are false. Like I'm lactose intolerant, even though it says I'm likely tolerant, because it does vary. I mean, just because your DNA might make you predisposed to be one way or the other doesn't mean it's actually true. But yeah, like with alcohol, I don't flush with alcohol. Caffeine, I consume quite a bit actually, but I don't need to consume a lot, so I guess that's kind of true. And then I am less likely to be a deep sleeper, and my dad has sleep apnea, so that kind of thing runs in the family. Predisposed to weight about average, I would say that's probably true. Muscle composition common in elite power athletes, which was really surprising to me, and that actually made me kind of happy because it means like, oh well, I can, I feel like those kind of things are cool to know. Saturated fat and weight, likely similar weight. I don't remember this one. Margaret, your weight is likely to be similar on diets high or low in saturated. Oh, interesting. Interesting. Yeah, diets high in saturated fat. Interesting. Yeah, this is like new. That's another thing I really like. They also have a BMI calculator. That's really cool. Let's do mine. Let's do 121. I'm underweight. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting stuff, likely similar weights. That's really cool, because I know that certain ways you exercise and certain ways you diet, it'll affect, because everyone's body responds differently, so that kind of aspect's really cool. And likely more movement. I do move a lot in my sleep, so a lot of this stuff is really accurate, I think, and just kind of interesting to know. And then along with that, there's a lot of like research you can be a part of. I know other people that have gotten like Amazon gift cards for participating in different research questions and stuff, and I think that's pretty cool. I've answered 1,754 questions on 23andMe, but I haven't done any specific studies. Like I wasn't paid to do any studies, but I think participating in that kind of helps them just get better information and things like that. And can help with health all over. But yeah, so ancestry is just one part of it. There's also like, it does show you like your Neanderthal. I have 72% more than the average person. Not the highest, but still. And then you can also add friends and then compare DNA. That's another thing I did with my boyfriend, just to see if we had any DNA similarities. We didn't, but it was really interesting. And then as well, like, it'll show you your, oh, what's this? Oh, it'll tell, that's really cool. So like, it does encourage like doing other family members, because it'll tell you what you got from what. And like, I know people that have done it with their moms, and it'll say like, oh, you share 50% of DNA with her, or like 51%, and that kind of stuff. And it'll, yeah, it's just really cool. I don't have any family members that have done it though, unfortunately, so I don't have this, but I do have like connections on DNA relatives. So like 2 people, but then I also have like people I've requested, and then also just like people that I match. It'll show you can do it by like newest relatives too, but like I have almost 1,000 people that share DNA with me, which is crazy. Yeah, it's really cool. But I haven't, again, most of them are American, and then some in the UK, which makes sense. Yeah, that's really cool. So anyway, that's 23andMe. I hope that you got some perspective on what you're gonna, you would get. It kind of shows you everything right here, and I think it's kind of important in terms of like health-wise, just to be aware of what your background is, what you can be at risk for. That's why I opted for like the health aspect. I can't wait until they get more updated on ancestry and stuff, and things are more specific, and I wish there was a little bit more history aspect of it. And in that case, I feel like if you really just want to focus on history, get ancestry.com. But I just love 23andMe. I love the layout. They even have an app for it that you can download. It's just like overall a great service, I think. And I think it's interesting. A lot of it goes into like the biology and chemistry and DNA and those like that. It'll tell you exactly what chromosomes they what they tested, and I think it's just fascinating. So yeah, those are my results. Nothing like crazy, nothing like surprising, but it was cool to know that I'm not really at risk for that many things, and the things that I am at risk I kind of knew of already. But it's just cool to have that kind of assurance, because it does test for so many different things. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and if you want to see more from me, subscribe, like this video if you liked it, and leave a comment below if you've taken this test and what you got. And yeah, I have a link down below too, like a referral link, which helps me out if you want to end up taking the test. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching.